I was going to therapy, I'd have a coach, I was reading all the things, and still something was stopping me from doing what I needed to do. And I was like, this has to be the body at this point.
Welcome to the Money Healing Club podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Duncan. I'm a financial therapist and art therapist, and I founded the Money Healing Club. You've come to the softest place to land in personal finance, where we talk about all the things we don't usually say when we talk about money. This podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. It does not substitute mental health, legal, or financial advice. For help with your particular situation, please seek help from a licensed professional. If you've been listening to me or following me for any length of time, you know that one of the biggest blocks we have when it comes to personal finance is a physical fear reaction when it comes to money. It's where your brain kind of goes offline and your body takes over. For example, while you might know that you need to check your bank account more often to avoid overdraft fees, have you ever felt numb or anxious to the point where your body just takes over and you want to either run for the hills or you completely numb out? If that happens, you're not alone. This might be the symptom of financial trauma. In today's episode, we have a special guest, Sydney Harbosky, who will teach us the emotional freedom technique. This is also called EFT and tapping. We use those terms interchangeably in this episode. EFT can be used for lots of things, but Sydney has been offering tapping in the Money Healing Club for a few months for money healing. And the results have been amazing for me and members. Sydney is a certified EFT practitioner who's passionate about helping people transform their relationship with money and their creative practices. Through tapping, she guides Money Healing Club members through blocks like avoidance, scarcity mindset, and perfectionism to lead to a more calm, capable, and creatively free worldview. Outside of the Money Healing Club, Sydney offers one-on-one EFT support and digital business management services, empowering creative people and entrepreneurs to bring inspired ideas to life with structure and ease. You can find her offerings at sydneyharbosky.com. Sydney's going to teach us today what tapping is and even guide us through a little sequence. So this is a good one to have a hand free or two hands free so you can tap along with us. Enjoy my talk with Sydney Harbosky. Okay, Sydney, for listeners who are new to tapping or emotional freedom technique, we'll call EFT or tapping throughout this episode, could you explain to us what it is and just like how it works?
It's actually funny you say that because I've been doing so much more research about it. And what we've learned is emotions are actually stored in the body as neuropeptides. So it is a nervous system protein. We know that your emotions just aren't in your head and they're in your body. And when you feel a certain way, your body then goes, oh, I recognize that as like a fear. Like that's the way I need to feel. So what EFT does is it's a mind-body practice, and it releases stress and limiting beliefs and emotional blocks by stimulating specific acupressure points, mostly on the face and the upper body. It helps calm your nervous system and sends a signal to your brain that this is safe. And it literally is changing your emotional chemistry in real time.
I have a question because I've got to experience a couple of Sydney's tapping sessions, and the added element, like not only is it physical, but you're also saying words. And I'm wondering, like, the language part you're tying in, because you're repeating these phrases, sometimes very, like, evocative, interesting, sometimes funny phrases, while you're doing these, like, things with your body. And I'm curious about the like, what's the connection with the language part of it, or the verbal part of it?
The verbal part is just kind of bringing up those emotions in real time, whether it be, we understand that it can be fun and light, but also serious at the same time. And it's just about invoking your fight or flight or your nervous system response in that moment. And you're kind of just having a conversation with your nervous system and getting it to fire up. I don't feel safe. This isn't comfortable. And you're saying that out loud, being like, hey, listen, I want you here so that we can work on it together.
Yeah, and I've experienced it too. It's like it actually like brings up a safe level of discomfort. But it's not about, oh, de-stress, breathe and calm down. It's actually, okay, we're going to bring up the topic that is, bothering you or worrying you or whatever. We're actually going to safely get into it a little bit while doing these tapping movements. And it's such a different type of experience of, I just feel like we do so much in our life to avoid discomfort. And this technique actually is like, we're going to introduce a safe amount, it's a low amount, but that we're going to go into it a little bit very safely.
Yeah. It's when you say that, and we've talked about this even after in the club when we've done sessions, part of that, I usually go my mental like compass. If I feel uncomfortable and I feel like I want to have some type of emotional release behind what I'm saying, I'm like, I need to say that. Like, and if you're watching me, like I'm watching the people in the club while we're going through it, if they have their cameras on, you'll see that there's moments where I feel like I want to cry. And I'm like, I have to say this because it's clearly something that's bothering me, upsetting me. Like, it needs to be said. Like, it's coming up. And you're recognizing it in that moment, which is really important. And it can go anywhere. That's why sometimes funny things come
Right.
up.
And it's like, I think as a healing practitioner myself, yeah, my instinct in the moment, my emotional experience with a client is my greatest clinical tool. Right? I even saying like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
something that's bringing up tears for me right now, right? And then it's like it's this incredible
Yeah.
joining moment where you're not only a leader, but you are experiencing it with everyone, and that attunement then is also telling you where to go.
And that's part of too, and it came up in my certification for it was like it's called borrowing benefits. Like when you're all tapping together and all of those things coming up, like you're sharing that with other people. Like what's healing for you is healing for somebody else. It may be different, but it's the same, and you're in this experience together, and like it is just one big shared experience with all
Yeah,
kinds of
and we have so
things.
much greater capacity. Like, I may feel overwhelmed with, say, an experience of insecurity, but you're not overwhelmed by my experience of insecurity. Like, you can take it. Not take it from me, but like share it with me. You can process it with me. Like, I think often we feel that, oh, I don't want to be a burden or my feelings are so much because it feels to you like it's too much. But very rarely are someone else's
Yeah.
feelings too much for you to be with. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Sydney, tell us the story. How did you come to tapping? How'd you get so good at it, too, by the way? But
Thank you. It's actually funny. I had that question that I was like, how did I discover it, and what drew me to it? For me, I actually saw this quote like a few days ago, and I was like, it's new to me. I think it's been around probably for a long time, but it said, I sat with anger long enough until she told me her real name was grief, and it's C.S. Lewis. And for me, that's what got me into tapping was it was just I had a lot of anger. And then I was like, oh, why am I angry? And then I was like, oh, well, if anger is grief, what is grief? And that was like, grief is more than just loss of life, loved ones. It's the life you had, the financial life you didn't have, the partnership you didn't have. And I was like, I'm just so angry. And I feel like talking about it, doing all those things that should work, like we're so like, here's my problem, what's my solution? It just wasn't
yeah.
working for me. And then I ended up like finding tapping through Gala Darling like years ago. I'd say like probably 5 years ago. And then I was hemming and hawing over her certification, and then she brought it back out, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And I was like, it's meant to be, like, I'll figure it out. But yeah, it was just a lot of navigating emotions that I didn't understand. And it was like, what do I do with
That's an
that?
incredible quote. I think you're right. Like, grief is so much bigger. Like, just think about loss. Yeah, the life you thought you'd had, or the loss of that concept of self. Like, sometimes the loss is hard to name. And I've also heard it said, I'll try to find who said it, but like, grief is a physical process and not an emotional one. I've heard that said too. We physically experience
Wow.
loss. Even if in your head, oh, I know that that thing doesn't happen anymore, that doesn't upset me, but you just like you said at the top, like, we hold memories, we hold emotions in our body, or like Gabor Mate, the body keeps the score. And that is why, like, verbalizing
Mhm.
alone only goes so far, where the rest of the body needs to catch up.
I I like to think of myself as pretty emotionally intelligent and aware of the things that
Yeah.
need to be done. But I was going to therapy, I'd have a coach, I was reading all the things, and still something was stopping me from doing what I needed to do. And I was like, this has to be the body at this point. And like, I mean, you can go down a whole rabbit hole of that where, every emotion has a correlated organ, and then organs correlate with, physical ailments. And then it's just like, oh, like for me, it's like anger. Okay, we know that anger is associated with your liver. Well, what comes up when your liver is not functioning properly? You break out. It's just like a stacking thing, and it's really fascinating to know that your body's trying to tell you things, and it's trying to tell you things in a way that it knows that you're
Always.
listening. Like, it's like, oh, some people are really in tune. Like for me, I'm like, I really like having clear skin. Well, something's going on and you're not listening to me, so I'm gonna stick it out for you in a way you don't like. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. What's the
Guess
problem?
what shadow thing I'm going to bring up so you pay attention to this?
I'm like, okay, thank you. I hear you
Mhm.
now.
So it always lets you know.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing something really interesting in the club also, like taking tapping, which is a practice that is also evidence based and used in lots of domains, and we are bringing it into the topic of money. And you've so graciously,
Mm.
like, you know, given it a shot. Like, what if we just focus on the topic of money? And we know that money touches everything. So now that
Mm.
you've been doing it a little while, like, a lot of people come to the club with very strong, almost traumatic reactions around money, right? We're talking like panic, freeze, extreme avoidance, dread, like these things that are really physically emotional. So how is tapping fitting with addressing money healing, do you see?
Well, first thing that comes up for me is that as I've worked through this, like I feel like we're conditioned in thinking around money. And I think, part of how we initially met was I took your money healing. Is that an
Yeah. Let's
intensive?
call
And one of my favorite things was that you took the math out of it. Like it it is math. At the end of the day, it's money. Like there's math in that, but you really brought an emotional level to it that I just did not associate with for a very long time. And the way people feel around money, like I think it's been conditioned that it's like a character flaw and it's really just a nervous system response. Like it's not, you're not bad, you're not evil, you're none of those things. It's just you've been conditioned to feel that way by, the first time you opened your account and it was a negative balance. So now every time you think about opening your account, you associate those feelings of shame, whatever is coming up for you in that. And I think it activates our
yeah.
survival brain. Like it's just it is what it is. Like we're all at the end of the day just trying to escape tigers. It's just a different tiger.
Right. Right. And I've actually talked in a recent podcast episode even about taxes and how tax anxiety can be seen as a trauma response. And it's not that there isn't something there to work on, but we need to right size the threat,
Mm-hmm.
because we are triggered all the
Yeah.
time. Oh, this is like, I'm helpless, or this is the worst thing in the whole world. And it's like, it's something to do, it's something important, but is it actually threatening your life? And to kind of right size these threats, because when we get real dysregulated or we're just used to going to panic, then it happens easier and easier each time unless we kind of interrupt it. And I have found that in your sessions with the tapping, it's like, wow, we're going to bring up a little bit of the discomfort and then we're going to interrupt your usual response. Is that kind of, that's my experience as a participant. Is that kind of what's going on in your mind a little bit? Like, we're going to bring it up, we're going to interrupt it, and we're going to introduce all these other ways to work with this discomfort.
Yeah, I mean part of it it's kind of like it's like building the story like and then you're hitting the peak and then you come
Mm,
down from there of we're gonna try and build it up as much as we can because, the way to break through is to get as uncomfortable as
mhm.
possible. And then we're gonna start having, positive thoughts around that. And, like I said in the beginning, we're gonna change your chemistry, your
I
emotional
feel it.
chemistry. And we're going to bring in positive things. We're going to make yourself what was a threat is now a place of safety.
Would you be able to lead us through just like a taste of sort of what it's like? I know it's a little bit tricky because we're doing this pre-recorded and we can't do a full session, but like, could you give us just a taste of what a tapping session is like?
Yeah, I think I had one. I even wrote down like a
Oh,
little
great.
mini one. So the main thing is that you want to start on the side of your hand, which you would start here. It's kind of like clearing up the issue when you're working here. And you really don't have to overthink it. The nice thing about EFT is it meets you where you're at. You can't mess it up. And that's the nice thing. Um, so you would start on the side of the hand. What I put down was, even though I feel anxious about looking at my account, I deeply and completely love, accept, and forgive
Okay, I
myself.
want to describe what I see Sydney doing. So while she's saying this, which we want you to repeat, and maybe we can repeat it again, she's got one hand, it doesn't matter which hand, in like a soft fist, just fairly relaxed, up kind of at her chest. And then the other hand, she's taking the fingertips of three fingers and tapping on like that pinky edge of your palm. I'm just trying to describe this in
Mhm.
audio.
Yeah, it's kind of like the meaty part of the
Yeah,
outside of your hand, like right that goes right down from your pinky where you've got
a
that
little meaty.
excess
Yeah.
little meat and you can just tap it. The best way to describe on how hard you should be tapping is you don't want to do too hard, but the best way I've heard it described is you're at a concert and you're trying to tell the person in front of you you can't see and it's loud, so you're gonna do like, hey, like not you're not hurting yourself, but it's not like a light, gentle lymphatic
Gotcha.
massage.
And I'd see the frequency, like we're doing it right now. I'm doing it a little slower than you, but I'm going like tap, 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 tap. You can go a little faster, a little slower, whatever feels right. But that's about the frequency. And you're going to be keeping that up and that level of pressure as you tap while you are saying these phrases.
Even though I feel anxious just thinking about looking at my account,
Even though I feel anxious about the idea of even looking at my account,
I choose to deeply and
to
completely
deeply and completely
love, accept, and forgive
love,
myself.
accept, and forgive myself. All right, so I hope everyone was saying it with me and notice the sensory reaction. So right away, I'm feeling this tingling on the top of my legs as I said that. Like something like it's very subtle, but like something's there where something's like like a little relaxation. Yeah.
And as I've said in the club, like, things are moving when you're having any type of bodily responses, whether it be tingling, tearing up, yawning, burping, and I'll say it here because I don't
Dude,
care,
yeah.
farting.
Let's get real.
Anything, your body is just like, I'm moving this.
Right, and it's
And
also saying I'm safe enough to relax. We don't get into that parasympathetic state unless we feel like we're okay. So that's also a
mhm,
sign that your body's like, okay, I can accept new information. I can learn because I'm not running from the tiger.
yeah. And a side note to that, like one of the things that I add in, which I've heard and I think it deeply resonated with me, was saying I choose,
Mm,
because some of the is I, deeply love and accept myself, but putting I choose in it, because sometimes when certain feelings come up and you're working through certain emotions, you don't believe it. So saying you have a choice in it is very empowering, I think, to people of like, I'm choosing this right now. I may not believe it tomorrow. I may not have believed it yesterday, but right now I'm picking it.
mhm.
And I think that also sends a signal to your body of like, hey, it's all
Also,
good.
like I have
Like,
agency here. I mean, I love that just from like a
yeah.
consent-based healing practice. Like I'm choosing. I don't. No one's making me do this. I choose it.
What Brad Yates always says, I take full responsibility for my well-being. Like that's how he starts every
Oh
tapping.
wow.
I'm just saying that I'm taking full responsibility for my well-being.
I take
And he's like, you're choosing to be here.
Okay, let me say it. I take full responsibility for my well being. That's heavy.
Mm,
I'm still
yeah,
tapping, everyone. I'm still tapping with the side of my hand.
that's the cool thing. And I think that's been the most fun part is you can do it with
Yeah.
anything. I do it every day
Mm.
now. And I think that's been the best part of getting my certification was that it's like, oh, I can do this with
Yeah.
anything that comes up. Like my big one lately has been around stress. Like I'm releasing this stress every day and I just go through it. I love to do it in the shower, in the bathtub, on walks, anything. So to follow up to the why we started here and how we got off track is then you would go to the tapping points, which to describe would be the top of your head, inside of your eyebrows, You can do both hands, you can do one hand, if your hands are full, whatever you need to. The sides of the eye, kind of where your lids meet and come out from there. Your cheekbones, the top of
You're
your
kind of
lip.
like arching your pointer finger like it's a little mustache.
Just one, yeah. And then your chin, your collarbone,
And let me describe, we are both still going tap, 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 tap this whole time. Yeah.
and then under the armpit,
Either arm, any arm.
either arm.
And with the other hand, you're going to tap kind of a little bit below your armpit.
And then your wrists together.
Kind of crisscross your hands.
And then you would go through that. So to go back to the original cause, we'll go through it again. I have this tight feeling
We're at
in
the
my
top
chest.
of the head. I have this tight feeling in my chest.
I don't want to look.
Above the eyebrows, I don't want to look.
Side of the eye. What if it's worse than I think? Under the eyes. I feel frozen just thinking about it. Under the nose. I have so much shame around money. Under the chin. I judge myself for avoiding it. So we'll say it again. The collarbone. I judge myself for avoiding it. And just third time's the charm. We'll go under the arm. One up under the arm. I judge myself for avoiding it. And then top of the head. Even though I judge myself for avoiding it, I choose to deeply and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. I want to feel safe with money.
We've moved to the eyebrows. I want to feel safe with money.
To the sides of the eye. I'm open to more calm around money. And then under the eyes, and so it is. And you can go through that as many times as you want. You can stop at whatever point you want. Again, you cannot do it wrong.
I love that. It's so freeing. And when we do this, I do want to describe when you're running a group, it's kind of neat. Like we hear Sydney, but the rest of us are on mute. So we can all just like repeat and it doesn't like mess up. And so it's really kind of a fun thing. And also it's sort of leaning into the weird, which I really like. It becomes, we all get really giggly and it's really a lovely time. And I will say it also, it can be so intense because it kind of goes on for a while. We're like, are we still tapping? And Sydney, you just have this amazing way of like identifying the way people are talking about their problem and then introducing such healing language to kind of get to the other side of it. And then we always take a break. You always tell us to drink lots of water. And I actually want to back up because you don't just jump into the tapping. Could you talk a little bit about the interview process? Because I also find that really interesting. You're really like taking notes. I have a feeling you're really writing down like what we're saying, like the words we're really saying, because then I hear it back to us later on. There's some prep going on as you cater like in a live session, right? Could you tell us about that?
So if I'm working with a one-on-one client, they are usually going to get a intake form. And that intake form has a lot of questions. Now, obviously, we only have an hour for a class, so I'm working at a little bit quicker pace. So the main thing is that the nice thing in the Money Healing Club, everybody gets to vote on what topic they want to tap on. So I take that in. I know I have one question, and so I ask that question, and I kind of open the floor of how does that feel? How does that feel in your body? What does that bring up for you? And what do you want that to feel like in your body? And what do you want it to feel like when you think of this? And we kind of work through that all together. And part of it is, yes, I am writing down exactly what people are saying because we're trying to activate your nervous system. So what's important is that you identify and relate to the things I'm saying. So I'm using your words verbatim. And I'm just here to facilitate it. You're doing a lot of the work for me, and I'm just leading you through it. And then we're gonna throw, a positive spin on it at the end and make you walk away from it of like, oh, I can talk about this now. I don't feel icky when it comes up.
That's definitely been my experience. It's really cool because it's like, oh, we're just going to talk about the problems. But also, it's not like toxic positivity. You're not tapping it out and being like, and everything's going to be okay. Right? Like the tapping it out is more like, I accept what is, and I am still a
Mm-hmm.
good person. It's so healing. It's such a holistic approach rather than, and here's how I'm going to fix it. Because the fixing that can come later. But there is this real feeling of, for me, neutralizing that experience. Like, okay, that fact that I need to check my account still exists. Tapping it didn't change that. The
Mm-hmm.
panic around it, the avoidance around it is dissolving because of this. And now I know what I can do, which is cool.
Yeah.
So I know,
Yeah.
I've brought you into
I
this to
know.
kind of like do the money stuff, but I know tapping can be used for anything. I'm curious, what other things do you like using tapping for, either with yourself or other clients? Like, are there other like non-money related things you like doing it with?
Outside of the club, I help clients with anything that comes up around creativity. That was kind of outside of the anger for me was also like I said, like I know I should be creating these things. I know I should be doing it, but something's stopping me. What's stopping me? So then it kind of gets into, well, it's your body. Your body's stopping you. It's trying to keep you safe. So a lot of it I work with is like artists. I've worked with, I'm in Nashville, so there's a lot of country singers and singer-songwriters. I've worked with a singer-songwriter on like, why am I not creating anymore? Like, and just all of the things that come up with that. And really, it's really healing to help people through those things when, and I don't think there's anything wrong with therapy. I think therapy coaches, everybody has a place and time, but when you've exhausted all of those options and it's just about like meeting yourself where you are, and like the nice thing about tapping is you don't have to know. You just don't know. Like you can literally sit there and be like, I don't know why I'm being like this. I have no idea.
Right. It doesn't rely on a cognitive insight, which is, I think,
Yeah.
wonderful. I think, that's in my training as an art therapist, that's also like, okay, you've been in talk therapy for years and you've reached a plateau. Let's make some art about it. And consistently, I would find people who are like therapy lifers had never resolved a particular issue until they made art around it. So it's like, I do think there are these alternative doors to healing that, I think one of the things that gets us in trouble is this verbal part of our brain that is so important and is great and brilliant, but we have so many other ways of knowing. And it's so much more than just our brain. And it's also, hey, the right side of your brain and the one that thinks in intuitively in images and metaphors. And then we also have the body and the body's lived experience. So like there's just so many different ways to get to healing. And you may find, anyone listening may find that there's an alternative path to get to where you need to go that really can help fill in the cracks. And I think that's what you're really giving.
Yeah, and I think to bring it back to which I know was not the original question, but to bring it back to like the Money Healing Club of like, that was one of my favorite things through the work that I did with you was that you're using art and it's like, okay, so you draw a picture of what you think money is and it's like a picture of crashing waves. Well, what feelings come up behind that? Fear, shame. Okay, let's guilt, let's grief. Let's tap on that. Like what's coming up and let's just address that one emotion and be like, what's going on? And you can, like I said, you can be like, I don't know. It's just there. That's all I got.
Okay, you heard it here. We're going to do an art therapy tapping mashup. We've just decided.
Oh,
Right, let's do it, Sydney.
that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Put a pin in that. We'll do that. Yes. It's like, here's this thing, here's this truth. It'd be a really good way to identify where we're going. And then we tap it out and then we make a new image of the other side to process it. We're getting all sparkly over here. Okay, stay tuned, everyone. Okay, in the meantime, see how silly we get? It's so fun. Money healing is hilarious, guys. In the meantime, though, this is already, Sydney's done 2 of these sessions and she's scheduled for once a month in the club. It's included in a club membership. It's already become a fan favorite. You're like the new popular girl. It's such a wonderful offering, though, to like, okay, maybe one day I'm talking about debt, and then the next day we can tap it out. or vice versa, and
Yeah.
it's so important in the club that like, okay, yes, we want to learn these things. We want to see practical progress. Great. But the reason why that hasn't been working so far is you've been doing it alone and your body's freaking out. So then we got these other ways to soften it, to teach you some safety, and then you can get into the spreadsheet or the app in a more neutral, healthy, flexibly thinking way. It's
Mhm.
just really fun to bring it in, and also there being many leaders in the group, which is like really a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I love it in there. Like I've told you before, like that's one of my favorite online communities, and I've been in a lot of online communities, and I think it's a very healing and just you're
Yeah.
seen there and there's no judgment. And it's just like everybody's in this together and we're all having the same problems. And it's awesome to just be like, oh, thank you. And it's something about it not being your friend,
Yeah.
your family member, your partner that's just like,
It's
ah,
like
it's so
really
much
nice
easier.
internet strangers. But the people who like this vibe and come in are just are wonderful people. Oh, thank you. I know I'm biased, but I'm also part of a lot of other communities, and Money Healing Club is my favorite too. Well, Sydney, thank you so much for
Yeah.
explaining what tapping is, how you think about it, how you came to it, leading us through a little section. I hope all of our listeners can just go back and repeat that. You can repeat it anytime. How can people find you and your work outside of joining the club, which Sydney's work is included, but to do maybe an intensive deep dive, or they want to do something that's not related to money? How do they find you?
It would be on my website, just sydneyharbosky.com. And I am on Instagram, but I don't really do much on there, but it's just my name, Sydney Harbosky. And yeah, I'm on there. There's an email that you can schedule a free meeting with me. And then we can dive into what you're looking to
I
work on.
highly recommend just a couple sessions with Sydney to unblock whatever's blocking you. And I will link to everything in the show
Yeah.
notes. Sydney, thank you so much for taking us through this. This was like my favorite combo. Thank you so much. Hey, thanks for listening to the Money Healing Club podcast. You can find resources, links, and everything from this episode in the show notes below or at moneyhealingclub.com/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I want you to consider joining the Money Healing Club, where you can come to Sydney's monthly tapping sessions included with your membership. This is on top of twice a week live sessions where I guide art therapy workshops, money masterclasses, drop in Ask Me Anything sessions, and so much more. We have a book club, we have member co working, recordings, courses, a discussion forum, seasonal challenges, and more. All this great money healing stuff is hosted in a private membership platform that is not a Facebook group. It's the most comprehensive and affordable way to access financial therapy, and you are welcome to join us at moneyhealingclub.com. No one is beyond help, and I'll see you there.